based on the volume of our inbox questions, this is everyone's favorite topic in terms of they love NIH for these updates. Basically, we've made updates to the requirements in terms of what you need to submit for other support and with just-in-time and RPPRs. And this was effective January 25th of this year, including updated electronic signatures and supporting documentation. And the idea behind this, as this is not something that NIH is implementing to burden its applicants. This is a overall government-wide effort to increase transparency in commitment of the researchers working on federal assistance awards, and make sure that both domestic and foreign financial support is disclosed, and make sure that the NIH awards are going to people that have unique support versus overlapping support with from other institutions and other governments. So that is kind of the underlying rationale for these changes. And this is also part of a larger effort to align with the Office of Science and Technology policy in regards to their recent National Security Presidential Memorandum 33. And our other support implementation aligns with that guidance. So all the questions you have about why we're doing this, this is the rationale for that. And I know people continue to have tons of questions. We have continued to update BioSketch FAQs and other support FAQs as linked at the bottom of the slide. But we also have a dedicated email address, which I don't think everybody knows, just for these specific types of questions, because the volume has been pretty high. So I know traditionally we direct you to the Opera grants policy inbox, but for BioSketch and other support questions, we would recommend you submit them to this inbox so you can get more detailed and timely responses on this subject.
And the G series package doesn't trigger an error for not using the correct other support documentation. We don't understand why that happened. I just submitted an R01. He fought me. We didn't include the other support that I'd been doing. Will the next series trigger errors for this?
Hi, thank you for your question. So in terms of validating the specific format page that is provided, at this time, we are unable to validate on whether or not the format page that is attached as a PDF on that form is specifically the required one. However, we are moving towards efforts to, better align with those validations and things. The exact timing of that is still currently unknown, but we are very much working towards ways that we can provide some of those additional validations and other system enhancements, both in terms of Science CV, as well as the formats as well, so that we can help minimize some of that administrative burden for our applicants and recipients. We definitely recognize the challenge, but apologies, we don't have that validation in place right now.
Can you clarify what you need for the other support signatures? My institution requires us to do digital signatures. However, other institutions just require an electronic signature. So and I know like on your FAQ and everything on your website, it says electronic signatures, but do you require, what is the exact requirement? Is it an electronic or digital, or is it up to the institution policy?
How are you differentiating digital versus electronic for your institution?
Our institute, they have to either be like Adobe stamped, signed, or DocuSigned with a date, stamp, time. It can't just be like a Adobe signature with no date and time stamped.
Yeah, we don't prescribe specific services for electronic signatures or anything like that. Our main criteria is that it is not a wet signature that is then copy or scanned and then submitted. So it actually has to be an electronic in that way. But the specific software that you're using, we do not have requirements for that. So based on your description, I would think either would work.
We recently had an other support returned to us because the PI had specified 0 effort on some projects that were in no cost extension. And we're told that we could not have 0 effort. And I was looking for documentation of that anywhere and couldn't find it. So, we're happy to enforce that. And I understand the reasoning behind it. But it would be helpful for us if we had some sort of, written confirmation somewhere that that is how we're supposed to proceed. The other question I had is whether or not we include this proposal on the other support. It seems to me like the instructions say that it should be on other support for our PPRs, but not for just-in-time other support submission.
If it's still active, it should be included in both. As far as the GMS responding, I know there are circumstances in which some level of effort would be required, but there are also circumstances in which the PI might not be doing the work that is still needing to be done to finish the project during the no cost extension. So I could see both scenario. I think that's something that needs to be discussed directly with the GMS in terms of whether it makes sense or not. Obviously, depending on the grant type, effort levels are required. So that may be the situation, but without knowing the specific grants, you're welcome to submit the back and forth if there's a conflict between the GMS and your office. You can submit it to the grants policy inbox, and we kind of come to a resolution. But generally speaking, for grant specific issues, we recommend trying to work it out with the GMS, since they would have the most intimate knowledge of the situation.
In regards to the in-kind and the dollar amount that you provide, what would you recommend we respond to the faculty when they say, well, I'm concerned that once they see how much the in-kind is, they're not going to fund me? How would you suggest we respond?
I don't think that has ever been a factor in funding decisions, to my knowledge. I think we want just the most accurate information you can provide and to be consistent. So when you're making the estimates for in-kind contributions, the main thing we want is consistency. But in terms of funding decisions, I don't think that weighs in at all.
Hi, good morning. I currently work for Yale University and I'm an AOR SO. So a lot of these documentations come my way when it's ready to be submitted on a non-SNAP, or SNAPs are submitted by the PI. But one of the things that I've been coming across is, given that this is now creating more pages in the PDF itself, the actual portal is not accepting large files. So I've been having to let them know that they can submit the RPPR, and then I will directly send to GMS the other support in order for them to have at time of their review. But is NIH doing anything to expand that capacity? Because I know there's like a restricted amount to upload, but some of the larger, like PPGs and all these other type of large awards require so many different people's other support.
No, that's a great question. We are working with ERA to investigate that particular scenario as to whether or not it is a matter of just simply expanding the allowance for those attachment file sizes, or if there's also some additional guidance. I know a few of the cases that have come through the ERA service desk, and it turned out that for the RPPR, that the signatures weren't and the PDFs weren't properly flattened, which was contributing to the extremely large file size. So we are certainly looking into that. I don't have any updated guidance on it at this time, But certainly if you are working on your attachments for the RPPR, please make sure that they're flattened so that we can at least reduce the file sizes in that case. But we are investigating how we can either increase the file size or have other methods of supporting our recipients.
One other additional, I do want to add that we have flattened, and
Okay.
something is still not enough. And then I've even gone as far as, can you maybe divide the document, but then if we start dividing documents of various PDFs, then it becomes, administrative burden, and I'm sure also in the review side. So we're trying to mitigate that, but definitely I would say this is something to discuss. So I'm glad that NIH is taking that into consideration.
Absolutely. And especially
Thank
since you know that you have flattened it, if you would like to send one or two of those grant number examples to the systems policy inbox, which will be, again, at the contact portion of the slides, we can use that as some cases for ERA to use as part of their investigation. And then that way we can follow up a little bit more with some concrete examples.
And just as a follow-up, when you did submit it as basically two separate parts, did you have, aside from the obvious administrative burden, was there any issue with the GMS and accepting it?
When they uploaded it, I can't say they were able to upload the two files, but I'm not exactly 100% sure on the follow-up on that because they chose to.
No, I
Yeah.
mean, you said, correct me if I'm wrong, you said you submitted
said-
part of it and then submitted the other support via email. I was just curious if that was causing issues.
Yes. So that part, when I sent it directly to the GMS, because it was not with the RPPR, the GMS totally received it. Said, thank you very much. They understood the situation. And
Okay.
yep, it was just reviewed and we got the NOAA.
Yeah, just wanted to make sure if we needed to coordinate with any of the institutions in terms of accepting that while we find a workaround.
I would suggest that'd probably be the best for now. Thank you.
Hi, so there was recently an update to the RPPR, so it did expand the upload recently. So I think it goes up to 10, before it was like 4. So I don't know if that helps with the bigger, because we've been having those issues too.